new Teams URL. The issue being that since 2 weeks ago, the Teams meeting series ended, and then some people said that they could not join the chat anymore because they left the chat, but they can't join it anymore, and it's because of that. And I was not able to increase the series, so I had to create a new one with a new URL. So the current URL still works, and today we are accessing the meeting using something like this. Okay, if you go to this URL, you reach, it's redirecting you to the old Teams URL, the current one. And the idea is that we update that to the new one. But before updating it, I wanted to share it in case people are not using it or don't understand what's happening. So, or if the update didn't work and then you don't find anyone in the room. So this is the link, and we will update that. So starting Thursday morning, we'll use this one, and it's a limited audience. So if it doesn't work, it won't work for a limited audience only. And so on Thursday, I haven't tried it yet with someone, so we'll see if it works. And then I will also update this one and on the website, the URL on the website, so that people can find it. Okay. Then last week, we talked about RC2 eventually. I forgot to mention the Teams meeting. Now I didn't forget. We got a demo from Dean about open APIs, Swagger and Swag. We got a demo from William about Bulma, a new theme. And we didn't get a demo from myself about that, but maybe Dean will have a better demo about that than me, so we'll see. So demos. Today we have Shortcodes. Who has demos?
Zoltan is here, he must have a demo.
Then you're not muted, but we can't hear you, which is weird. So maybe something on your side and not your, I know, it doesn't work. No, we can't, but we can see that you are not muted. So well, I assume the meeting will be more interesting than good. So while Zoltan finds something to talk into, nothing else, nobody else? Dean, did you have a demo for Shortcodes or is it me?
Maybe next week.
Okay, so I will talk about that, and then next week you'll show what you did with that. If that's the only thing we have to do. Then.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as I was writing in the chat, I would have a demo, yes, about Visual Studio snippets.
Okay. So then snippets. Topics RC2. So let's look at the code changing. First, Orchard. There are some discussions on Thursday about Orchard 1. So nothing was merged since Thursday, but last Friday, well, yesterday apparently. So the two PRs we talked about were merged. No, it was last week. Okay. Request your prefix and token sort criteria, but nothing new in Orchard 1. We reviewed two PRs. However, one was about initially an issue on the blogs in Orchard 1, which is that if you unpublish a blog, you can still see a blog post. And we agreed, I think, that when you unpublish a blog, you should not be able to see a blog post, because the goal of to unpublish a blog is to not make it visible. And the issue is actually not just with blogs, but I think it should happen with anything that is a container. So if you unpublish a container, then you should not be able to see any of its content items. So the change that we agreed on was to change the content item controller to check if the content item is published, and if it has a container, that its container is also published. So Matteo and Hermes are supposed to work on that. Then the other issue was about tenants prefix. And there was a conflict in Orchard 1, which is that if you have a domain on a tenant like foo.com, and you create another tenant with the same domain, but a prefix foo.com/bar, then if you say foo.com/bar/baz, you might come on the main tenant and not the /bar tenant. And that's something that we actually handle in Orchard Core. So the solution was to Orchard 1 to resolve the tenants. And there are also unit tests in Orchard Core that should be also ported back to Orchard 1. And that's what I think Matteo is doing. I think he found one little issue with that, and we'll have to see on Thursday. So that's an update on Orchard 1. Orchard Core. What should I look at? I should not much has been merged. Let's filter on dev. Filtering on dev here. So since last week, 9th, update template generation docs. Yeah, too many ticks. ImageSharp license changes, last minute changes because we pulled an RC2 of ImageSharp and we needed to update the license. Then formatting on placement docs and formatting. Okay. Merge branch release RC2 into dev to port some changes from RC2 to dev. When was that? The 12th? Okay, makes sense. Almost makes sense because actually we need to merge master today. Add a contributor, contributors per line, contributor, contributor, contributor. User menu as a shape. I saw the PR. And. This is in the admin, so that's okay. In this case, so this is a user menu. And this is the code. Okay, sounds safe. Just looking for stuff that will be added, which was not there before.
It's the same.
Okay, and it's good. And remove the EF core section from the OpenID module documentation because it has been removed. Now it's abstracted inside OpenID. We removed the module some time ago. Okay, so that's all for Orchard Core repository because we were working on RC2, which we released. These are also things that were merged weirdly. Oh no, that was merged to RC2, that's why. Okay, and then RC2 to Yeah, the idea was too much master actually into the, okay, that's okay. So we shipped RC2 on NuGet and Docker. So we did that. When did we do that? On Thursday. If we look at NuGet.org and we search for Rocket Core, five days ago, we have a new release, 100 downloads. Nothing special here. All the packages are up to date. The documentation is now pointing also to this version, RC2, but it was the case already because we were using the Cloudsmith. So if I take the first one, templates, they were on star, so they were always working. But did you merge the PR, Zoltan, about the decoupled CMS site updates?
Not yet.
Good. So we need to do that, updating this cms.core and RC2 version. That's okay. I think that's the last change to that. We also published a blog post. /blog. So this blog post explains, just getting started, how to create a new site. Nothing special, but also explains what's new. I just focused on a few things that make sense from RC1 to RC2. Mentioned 150 contributors and 4K stars. A little GIF to show the language switcher on the setup screen. How it works. A little GIF to show the improvement on the block editor. And the fact that when you resize, it will also relay out the little block editors in the page, like it's in a preview. Mention sitemaps and Azure support improvements. There are more things, but I didn't want to put too much there because this blog post I wrote to put on the MS Dev blogs from ASP.NET website. So the audience is not as specialized as the one that will go directly on Rocket Core site. And it's currently being reviewed. I got some review feedback already, but I'm waiting for it to be published. It's being reviewed by the program managers to go on the MS Dev blog and MS Dev blogs.ASP.NET. That's it about that. What we need to do now for RC2 question. The goal of not publicly announcing it broadly was to check for any last minute issues, and I don't think there is any. The only one we found that I know of, well, a few, but the only one, the first one I found was this change language. You see here, the string doesn't change. And it's sad because this is explicitly some work we did a week ago to translate all the change language strings everywhere and to be sure that it will be completely translated in the setup. But somehow we were pointing to the old file. So a few months ago, we changed the location of this string, and we were actually translating the old location, the old context of the string, and we didn't realize it. So now it's updated, but the packages on NuGet.org are not updated, and I don't think it's worth doing another release just to do that. If you really want the latest with the latest string, you can just point to a new translation meta package. But that's the only thing we found here. Something else, someone found an issue with ImageSharp that there was an exception on some CPUs, and the issue I assume was there for a long time. Just a very small subset of CPUs have SSE3 disabled and will fail on ImageSharp, but there is an update on ImageSharp, so we have a mitigation for that. If you have the issue, you just point to the new version of ImageSharp. It's still on MyGet, not yet on NuGet.org. What else? Zoltan filed a few issues, but I don't think they're related to RC2, just filter missing. I was also wondering, it's actually by design, so I don't think it's really an issue. And that's it. Anyone found other issues?
So we can have a next release in 1 month for all these issues, no?
Did we say 1 month?
We did talk about having frequent releases, like automatic releases.
Yes, and I think it was 2 weeks ago. And how often did we say? 1 2 months? Yeah, between 1 and 2 months. So after 1 month and before 2 months, exactly. So in max a couple of months, we will have another release on NuGet. Could be 1.0. Why not?
Yeah, I do start to feel if we're going to do a rolling releases thing, then we should just move out of RC and into prod with it.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think that's because we shipped RC2, we were happy with whatever is in it. I think in 1 month, we can merge many things and test all the new things and just ship a 1.0. And then go on with 1.1, 1.2, and so on. Okay. So good. So if nobody found any big mistakes while testing, I'll tweet about it and share the link to this blog post. I would have hoped that the same blog post was on MSDev blogs, but that's okay. It will be another announcement on a different channel. Doesn't hurt. We'll see. This is the update for RC2. Lots of PRs on the repository because we were not merging them. We need to merge master to dev branch and then forget about the RC2 branch then, unless we need to patch it. But we need to merge master. Oh, no, master to dev branch and then merge the guys change. So if I go on the repository, $118 PRs. It's like we were at less than 100 a week ago. And I assume for the next triage, we'll do some easy PR merge. So we can see all these version update now. We can do that. All the things that are valid, we can do. So we'll see. There will be less PRs to merge after a week because we will treat them. Good. That's it for the updates. Demos. William, I don't think it makes sense to show the light theme. We saw the Bulma theme last week. It was a dark one. Now there is a light/dark switch. So that's good. Images above. Or should I paste actually the link there? I will paste this link in the chat. You can always go back to here to find it for next week. So next week we'll try on this link, okay? We'll test it on Thursday, but next Tuesday we should be there. So update your links, your shortcuts, or use the orchardcore.net/meeting URL. Demos, Zoltan, you first, because you're a guest.
Sure. Yeah, I logged in as a guest because I just couldn't see the chat otherwise. So what we are talking about here are Visual Studio snippets. So I will start sharing my screen in a second. In the meantime, the snippets themselves are available there in the link that I pasted into the chat window. Now, if you're not entirely familiar with the notion of snippets, I'm sure everybody here used them, even though possibly they don't know that is how it is called. Snippets are, well, little code snippets that you can generate pieces of code with. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And in the Orchard Dojo library, there were snippets. We have added them a very long time ago, years ago, and then added them throughout for a bit for ASP.NET MVC development, but mostly for Orchard 1 development. But there were no snippets for Orchard Core, but there are now. And so the goal of these snippets is that you should be able to very quickly generate some useful pieces of code. Like when you want to create a migration class, you can just hit OC migrations or just OCM, as you can see, tab, and now you have a migration. And it's a new thing. It came with one Visual Studio version that namespaces are also included. So this was previously only available for Visual Studio, for Visual Basic snippets, actually. It was pretty interesting scenario, or pretty interesting situation. But now namespaces are also included. But if you want something like a migration class for content, then you can use the content migrations snippets. And we are now in the title module. So, well, let's call this title migrations, enter, and now we are here. And we also have snippets for here. So, for example, if you want to add an alter part definition call here for the title part, we now have that here. So we can make it attachable. And similarly, we have snippets for all the common scenarios. For example, if you want a startup class, you can add with OC startup. All the Orchard core snippets are prefixed with OC, and all the generic snippets are not prefixed with OC.
That's not the latest version of the startup. There is a simpler one now, but you will update it. That's fine. You don't need to inherit from startup base, and you don't need to override the method. So that's cleaner. That's just it.
Oh well, then this is a prior version. Nevertheless, if you have a startup class and you want to add services, then you can use something like serve SC, as in services scoped, because now you can specify the service registration here. And there are a lot more. So we really try to find all the very useful scenarios, not to be overly opinionated, but sometimes we need it to. So, for example, if you want a driver, you can have the basic driver like this, and then you can write the methods here. Or you can have a full driver. This is available for parts as well as for fields, which is, well, a driver with all the display and edit methods. Of course, this is not suitable for every driver, but I think this is kind of a good baseline for most scenarios. And if you don't want the exact same thing, then you can just use the simple driver and write your own code, of course. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There are a lot more, as you can see, for all kinds of common scenarios, for part and field development, background tasks, menus, whatnot. Go check out under the link. If you clone the repository and point Visual Studio to it, all of these will be automatically added for you.
Thank you. Do you have snippets for building sites like displaying a content item, like Razor templates, Razor snippets?
Razor, there is one single Razor snippet actually. If there is a Razor file here, yeah. The Razor snippets is not something that we have taken too much time on creating, but there is an OC jQuery block, which is this one. Yeah, the indentation here is funny. I'm not sure why, but nevertheless, you can add a little jQuery block like this. We'll probably add more Razor snippets in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That will be a demo for the next how is it named? The blog, the dojo, whatever, long week video demos every week.
Yeah, well, it's just demos.
Demos, long week also called demos. Good. So my turn. I said I will talk about shortcodes. We already mentioned that a few times already. So the idea was, and it's been done by Dean, to replace the liquid tags by shortcodes to limit what you can do in some editors. Like maybe you don't want people to be able to write liquids because you don't want them to be able to output anything, like custom HTML tags, for instance. It might also be too complex to inject an image to start a liquid, to create a liquid tag. So we decided to use shortcodes like this media in square brackets. It's actually now called image to generate the image URL of a media file. There will be more. And this issue was about creating a service so we can extend the list of shortcodes. So this one is kind of hard-coded in a shortcode service to find every media instance in your text and to replace it with the actual public URL of a media. And so being able to enhance this shortcode with custom ones will allow to have UI like in WordPress like this, where you could list all the available shortcodes, because making it a service and being able to register them will make them discoverable. Not like Liquid, where you have to just look at the documentation to see what is available, well, what you can type. But here we can just describe every single one of them and have some nice UI like this. It's like the tokens in Orchard 1, where we could do that already. But here it's extensible. And the next step being to be able to create dynamic ones. So we could have some pre-existing ones provided by modules, because there will be a service to register and to describe and to register shortcodes. But we can also create a module where we can define some in the admin and write in Liquid what they will actually render. Okay, so that there are two goals. What I did during Memorial Day, because that's what you do on Memorial Day, you write some open source stuff. I wrote a library to be able to parse and evaluate these shortcodes. When we have shortcodes like this here in a text, we need to find the occurrence of this shortcode. And a shortcode could have some parameters. And it could be a single tag like what? Like, not this one, because there are two tags for this. Let me show you here.
Giphy or something.
What?
Giphy. Yep.
Giphy. Examples. So here are some examples. So which one do you say will be single one? I don't see any that could be a single. Well,
I mean, I think the singles allowed you to write them in line, so you didn't have to have a closing tag.
Yes, you're right. And the media one, the image one, is it a single one or is it a?
It's not. It could be, but we just wanted to take one parameter for that, so we needed a closing tag on it.
Yes, so actually they are mostly all single, because example here, Dailymotion ID equals something, and this is a single tag. Okay, there is no closing tag. You have a closing tag when you have content inside. So for instance, if you have a block inside, like a bold shortcode will need to have some content to be able to make it bold. Okay, so you need to have something inside. So what I was saying is that to be able to handle those shortcodes, parameters, and open and close tags, we need a parser. So we need to find these occurrences inside any piece of text that we want to filter, and then replace these occurrences by some custom logic instead of the tag itself. And so it has to be fast and not allocate, and to be cheap if there is nothing inside the text. For instance, if you have an HTML body and there is no shortcode, then it should not do anything. It should just be as if there was nothing. There should not be no cost around that. And so that's what I did. I did a library, because that's what I do, parsers and generators, to evaluate shortcodes in .NET. I could not find any. I found the one from Dave Glick, who made some kind of shortcode using a different logic and different tags, like separators, using angle bracket. It's more like HTML, but with a hash before the HTML. So that's the closest thing I could find. But here, the goal was to really do exactly like WordPress, because it works. So what does this thing do? You have a shortcode processor, and you can define sources for shortcodes. In this case, a name shortcode provider will just let you type a name and a lambda to evaluate when it finds this name. So if it finds a shortcode hello, it will say, well, replace it by hello world. And then if I do process, maybe processor.evaluate async, this is an hello, and you see the shortcode here, it will output this is an hello world. So that's the simple thing you can do with that. It can also handle parameters. So if you do bold text property and some string here, your lambda will be, so there is args and content. Content is what is inside open and close tag. And here there is no content, it's a single tag. So content will be empty, it's not using it. But if you do args.named text, it will find the argument named text, and then you can return what you want to do with that. The content argument will be the thing inside, and then you can do bold of the content, okay? And positional argument is when you define arguments, but which are not named. So the shortcode and then properties with no name. And this is named or default. So you could say, find me the text or the first argument. And there is also an override to say argument at 0, 1, 2, 3, and whatever. So that's how it works. And the goal was to really make it simple to use. So you can provide different shortcode providers. There is a named one. I'm not sure there is another one, but we could have in Orchard one that will pick some from the database, and one that will pick some from other ways of registering. And then it will just apply that. And if there is no shortcode inside your text, it will be no up super fast. And the parser itself is done manually, meaning it should be super. I didn't do benchmarks, but I did everything I do to make it fast by default. So it's a handmade parser to find all these things, and it will also handle automatically find. It will automatically find if a shortcode has an end tag or not. So kind of useful also, because it's not that simple. If I look at the test, where do I have it?
Did you check out BB code parsers?
Yes. So I didn't check for BB code parsers in .NET, but I think there is a difference with BB code. Let me check. What's the difference? Because I looked at it extensively. Shortcodes, your shortcode origin is from BB code. So BB code was a forum, but that was using this kind of thing. So they're calling that BB codes now. But there was some difference between shortcodes in WordPress and BB code, I don't remember. What could it be?
The BB code doesn't take arguments as a syntax. So shortcode's kind of built on them to do arguments. And although I see an argument there, but
well, it's not true. It's one. It's weird. It's like quote equals name here. It's like what there is no named argument.
Yeah, I think there can be just a single argument for every code.
Okay. Well, that's one of the difference. But yeah, we looked at it, and in the end, I think shortcodes. I don't remember why, but we decided to go with shortcodes, like in WordPress. And even in the history of the shortcodes in WordPress, they mention BB code. And so you see here, there is no parameter. There is a parameter here, name parameter. Yeah, I'm not sure you want to be able to do things like this. You can do that with shortcodes, but not when you're in table, you don't know it's a TR. What will happen is that if you have a TD shortcode, it will evaluate that, and then it will evaluate that, and then it will evaluate this one and this one with the generated content of these. So that will work also. So I don't remember exactly the differences between. Here is not obvious because, well, this is weird, because you can have parameters also there. And you say there are BB codes parser in .NET?
Yeah, I quickly checked it out. For Orchard Bomb, we actually had a BB code module as well. I don't think they are very active, but there are quite a few, yes. So
this we will not use. NTLR4, for instance, too slow.
Yeah, I had a look at a couple at one point or another. They're mostly regular expression based.
So NTLR is not regular expression, it's Lexer parser generator. That's a parsing language. But the way, well, last time I checked, I used to do that all day long, NTLR grammars. And the main issue there was that all the logic to fall back to previous tokens was handled by exceptions, and it was super slow. Super powerful, but super slow. So not adapted for things like a CMS where you need to render it a lot of time. Regular expression, same thing. It's slow also. That's why we use fluid and dot liquid for liquid. So yeah, but yeah, I have no answer right now, but we should find the answer. Why not BB code and shortcodes? I don't remember, but I'm sure we looked at it and we saw the mention of BB code in the history of the shortcodes. And shortcodes, when I mention shortcode, it's in WordPress. So yes, just to mention this library, and that will allow us to integrate shortcodes much better, much faster in any module that we do for Orchard. Ideally, we'll have that. That would be beautiful. So you see in the Trumbo rig, you can inject a media, but you could also say we could have, like we have in Orchard 1 with tokens, a little button that shows that you can use shortcode, and then we'll show you all the shortcodes and you can do searches and everything. It would be much, much, much better. And the main difference with Orchard 1 is that you will be able to add custom ones, import them, export them. So every module can provide their own, and your own sites, you can reuse your shortcodes, build them and share them with your editors. So that will be much more powerful. That's what tokens were doing in Orchard 1. That's it.
And probably that would be an edge case, but can you also escape shortcodes if you want them literally there?
Because there might be conflicts. So the nice thing is that it's not conflicting with, it looks like Markdown, but it's not conflicting with Markdown, actually. Because if a shortcode is not known, it will just render it as is. So if I look at tests, let me check what I have in this class. Yeah, so the idea is to be able to escape is to use 2 square brackets at the beginning or at the end. And it will just ignore the shortcode. I don't have an example here. Here. See, hello. If you type that, it won't evaluate as hello. It will just say, oh, that's not a tag, it's hello. Okay. And if you type this one, same thing. And if you type the 2 of them, same thing. So it's if you have 2 square brackets, it won't evaluate as this one.
That's great.
Yeah. That's the library. About it, other topics. RC2 done, snippet and shortcodes, URL, 1.0, 1 or 2 months. I already updated the roadmap, actually. Well, based on 1 or 2 months, I set a date. So roadmap, I updated with RC2 and what was done. And I updated the 1.0 with September, but it can be August. What's left to do? The only thing that went from this list to there is the sitemaps because it was there. Everything else was not in the big plans for the future releases. We already have an SEO PR that could be updated. We have the beginning of a dynamic strings localization. Someone on the forum mentioned that they were interested in localization neutral fields. Super important and not very hard to do. We already have PRs for distributed hosting. And that's it. The first one, we have something. Doesn't have to fit in 1.0. These are future release. For 1.0, we just merge the existing PRs and fix all the issues we think should be fixed for 1.0.
We could also add audit trail for at least for 1.0. I think that's what I promised.
I will add it in the list. So if we can have it for 1.0, that will be perfect. That's weird that it's not there. I thought it was there. Retrain. Very important. People keep asking, can I see all the versions and who did what and whatever. Awesome. That's all. Questions, topics, comments, feedback, new sites. Nothing. Okay, well, then the meeting is done. We'll see each other on Thursday on the new meeting channel and next Tuesday for the next update, not the triage. Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.